Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review of Tokyo Revengers Season 2 and 3 on Hulu, even though on Hulu it says Season 2. I split it out like that because of how it's kind of brought up on the Wikipedia, and that way it doesn't confuse as many people, though it is kind of cool that, Hulu Disney will be getting the next one that'll be happening this year. So I was like, yay, I caught up on this pretty nicely. And I overall enjoyed this better. Now, it's because season 3 ended on a decent kind of non-cliffhangery kind of bit. Mainly Takemichi being like, what the fuck's kind of going on here? Rather than what happened with season 1. Now, that's why I'm able to do a double thumbs up, because these were some interesting ones. Season 2, for introducing us to, like, the Black Dragons, and Taiju, and Hakai, and Yuzuha, and that whole kind of family dynamic. And then a little bit more into dynamic with Izuna and the Yokohama gang and everything in Season 3. Let's see, it's the Tenjiku arc and the Christmas Showdown arc. So we had ended the last one with pretty much this gunshot, and we see that Takemichi is, like, taken up, and that, Kazutora is the one that gets him out and starts got him out of the whole kind of situation, and starts berating him and kind of punching him for what, the Tokyo Manji gang has become, and what has gone on, where we learn eventually that everything kind of went to shit, and that they're trying to reform it and make it back to what it once was, because this is 12 years, Kazutora gets out with the whole thing that happened with Baji and the Bloody Halloween, and that he is in contact with Naoto and trying to kind of figure things out. But Naoto arrests Takemichi. It's like, yeah, Chifuyu was pretty much getting stuff on the Tokyo Manji gang and trying to get, like, pretty much Kiseki because of how hard it is to pin that little motherfucker down. But throughout this, we find that this timeline is the worst because Takemichi unwittingly is the one that ordered the execution and executed the execution of Hinata in this timeline. And he's going fucking ballistic in this one video. And then he's like, God, everyone's pretty much dead. He is a piece of shit. And it's just all fucked up. And of course, Hinata's still dead. And people are kind of coming for him. And he gets some information pretty much of what's kind of going on, because we see this Hakai dude from previously has, like, absorbed Black Dragon people, kind of trying to figure out what's kind of going on. So they get him thrown back into time, and that's when he kind of pops back in during this bowling alley thing and starts bowling with this Hakai dude. And they're both getting strikes and everything like that, though he's using a vastly heavier ball than Takemichi, and they kind of just hit it off a little bit. We see that the girl with him is actually his sister, and that he has a problem of talking to women, so he's not really ignoring Hinata, but he's just like, I don't know how to talk to you kind of shit, as they're kind of, like, walking home. And then we get pretty much introduced into the conflict with this, and it's like, okay, evidently in the future they thought that that Hakai had killed the previous leader of the Black Dragons for money. And we learned that the leader of the Black Dragons before him is his brother Taiju, who is a piece of shit and really goes along the lines of what goes on with, like, the JoJo kind of series of, like, that fucker's in, like, high school, middle school. This dude's built like a fucking 30-year-old bodybuilder, and it gets even more nuts as we get into the kind of fight scenes later on, where Takemichi is able to take a beating like ain't nobody's business. Like, his willingness to not give up is pretty much his strength. It really kind of was cemented in both of these seasons and arcs that he's going through. It's just like, sweet Jesus. I don't mind that he does that. He knows he's not that good of a fighter, but is able to pretty much wear down the motherfuckers through sheer will and perseverance, and just sometimes talking through and inspiring other people to back his ass up as well, because it's like, sweet Jesus, dude, just sit the fuck down. I mean, especially when we get into the end of the second one, like, season 2, where it's like, this fucker is, like, almost one hand throwing pews at you, man. You gotta dodge someone, and he doesn't just do it once. He does it a couple times. Then we get some actual badass kind of stuff later on, where we see, like, the Tokyo Manji gang, and this one dude's like, and Takemichi's like, sweet Jesus, that dude's beating dudes with other dudes. It's like, yep, that needs to be a t-shirt. So we see that Taiju is beating the unholy fucking shit out of Takamichi. Now it's just a prelude to what we get later on, but he's trying to protect Hinata as well. And Yuzaha and Hakai stand up, and Hakai's like, listen, if you let him go, because they're in Black Dragon territory, he'll quit the Tokyo Manji gang because he was with Mitsuha. He really looked up to him. Mitsuha was, we learned, had taken care of his sisters as well, raising them as they were pretty much growing up. And he really respected him for that and respected his strength of character. And that's why he was in Mitsuha's division. And here he's like, listen, let Takamichi go. I'll join the Black Dragons and everything like that. And of course, Takamichi's trying to get Mikey and then not to do this, not to allow this. Chifuyu giving him stupid kind of things like this, certain kind of pressure. He's like, hey, Mikey, take this. It's like, whatever. However, he's like, he defers to Mitsuha because it's his division. He's like, nah, you're not going to leave. Nah. And then instead orchestrates a meeting up with Taiju to pretty much get everything going on. He's like, okay, he can leave if you promise not to touch Yuzaha again. Because he has been beating them. Now, at the first part, we believe that he has been beating Hakai. He was beating Yuzaha, and that Hakai took the beatings of her as well, and that he was going to kill Taiju for that. So he sets this in motion, and Takamichi sees that this is a really bad fucking thing. He has also pretty much linked up with Chifuyu, and Chifuyu kind of understands what's kind of going on and tries to figure out how to kind of go about this. He can't really go back into the future because he's pretty much in the process of being arrested there, so he can't like go back and get any kind of information on what's kind of going on and any more information from the future for the past. Which definitely gets kind of interesting, especially when we get into season 3's kind of bit, because they really do escalate that kind of thing and kind of cut that off. So they do understand and do get into different kind of bits with this. So, like, all right, how do we stop them? They pretty much go to the other captains and be like, listen, we have to stop this. Like, we can't break the truce. It's pretty much like, I know it's like, they're like, we can't do anything. It's like, this dude's gonna kill him. What is that gonna even do with all this kind of shit? So Kisaki and Hanma decide to pretty much help them out of trying to stop Hakai with this. It's like, why the fuck would you trust any of these motherfuckers? It's probably one of the most baffling kind of ones. It's mainly pretty much painting them into a corner to kind of fuck over mainly Kisaki and Hanma, because they kind of go in under the guise that they've got all this information. The Taiju prays at this church on Christmas Day at night, and they're trying to go in there and stop Hakai from killing him, and it gets completely and utterly messed up. We think that it's Hakai that did it, but he kind of like freezes up, and then Yuzaha pops in, and we're like, oh, he takes credit for that and makes sure that like she's all safe and everything like that. That's where we start getting into the nutty bit. Mitsuha does show up to help out Mikey and Draken as well after Kisaki and Hanma have pretty much betrayed them and gets them expelled from the Tokyo Manji gang and everything. Like, fuck you assholes. It's like, alright, so that works out in Takamichi's favor. And going through the whole thing, it's pretty interesting to see Takamichi kind of get everybody. He does at least show himself as a pillar, and I do like that they echoed that he is close to Shinichiro, because he made the Black Dragons and kept having successive kind of generations and stuff like that. Let me see. Yeah. Mikey's brother. And also before this battle, we get the whole thing that Takamichi did meet with Hinata's father. And he's like, you're a gangster. Please break up with my daughter. It's like, okay. And he does do it. So this is linking up with what we had seen before. However, it goes in a different kind of route because she learns that her father went and did that. And is like, you fuck an asshole. And even the wife's like, honey, what the fuck, man? Dude, what? Good luck with that. But we see that Takamichi does get dragged there by Mikey after everything that was kind of going down, because they are able to get it so that Yuzaha pretty much had a kind of point where she was going to pretty much stab Taiju. But we see that because of certain interventions, it's a non-fatal wound, but we see that the Black Dragons are still kind of taken out. We see that Coco and them pretty much utilized him to reinvigorate the Black Dragons. That he's doing this shit for love, but like Taiju is fucked up. We see the mother had like died, and everybody kind of blames himself and takes the grief out on others. Taiju pretty much being on the top. Yuza trying to protect her little brother in Hakai, and just everything kind of going nutballs. Let's see here. Mikey pretty much got there because he thought he was pretty much hearing his friends, and we see everything kind of eroding because of the loss of his friends, everything that's kind of going on. We see that definitely coming to a head as we go with season 3 and what comes on in the next kind of future, which becomes pretty much the worst part. Even though you're like, Takamichi inadvertently pretty much killed Hinata in the last one. How's that one not the worst one? Pretty much, but it gets kind of even gnarlier. Let's see. Yeah, because they broke up before this whole kind of bit, and then they kind of pretty much get back together because of everything, and Hinata's fine, alright, cool. And just seeing that kind of be all nice together, and let's see. Yeah, so the Black Dragons are pretty much beat to shit by Draken, and Taiju is pretty much taken down by Mikey, but not in a complete kind of way. Mikey, like, KOs his ass once, and then he gets back up, sees all the guys out there beaten to shit, and then he just loses the will to fight. It's like, shit. Let's see here, yeah. Yeah, Shinichiro, yeah. And we get more of that, like, the resemblance of of Takamichi to Shinichiro, of how he's not a great fighter, but that he has inspired people to be better. And we see that with, like, Yuzaha and Hakai being inspired by Takamichi. Hakai doing a really good job of fighting against Taiju and kind of holding his own before Mikey got in there and just fucking laid shit out. But we see that everything is kind of building up and kind of corroding everybody, especially kind of Mikey, because he keeps losing his friends and it's just fucking with them. We do see about like Mikey's whole kind of, let me see. So they celebrate the new year and everything. It's really nice. We see Mitsuha's sisters. We see that Inui and Coco have decided that they had both held the title of being co-leaders and are now joined the Tokyo Manji gang under Takamichi's division because of what they saw. They were mainly more in the kind of background, but Coco was helping of pretty much utilizing the money and giving information on the Black Dragons, and then was there to kind of help Taiju a little bit, and then just kind of like sat back and was like, fucking shit. Alright, we'll join under this weird little bastard here. It's like, okay. Of course, Kiseki is then removed, with Hanma and all the former members of Mobius and Valhalla leaving with him. And of course, this is where Takamichi gets a bike constructed with an engine that Shinichiro had found in the Philippines. This becomes important as they kind of work out later, and seeing like Takamichi take it, he's like, oh, that's kind of cool. But then he goes in the future, and he's at Mitsuha's funeral. It's like, what? Let's see here. And seeing him kind of lose it, he links up with Naota, and that Hinata still died. But most of the members, except for Takamichi, have been killed, and killed by Mikey. And we see that he's got black hair, he's got a dragon tattoo at his neck, and they just found that killing was kind of easier ways to remove problems, and then just started killing everybody. It's like, god damn. And then asking Takamichi to kill him, but it's like, he should have been there to pull him back from the darkness. It's like, shit, so he didn't have anybody, and he just was like, he became more violent and killed his friends. He had left the Tokyo Manji gang, and the thing is, Draken and Mitsuha asked Mikey to let him leave because of what the gang was turning into, and to not have Takamichi sullied by that. But of course, that took even more darkness into Mikey as he then just kind of went even gnarlier. This, of course, leads to Takamichi figuring was Kisaki the kind of thing of taking the darkness. What he was kind of saying is like, all right. We also learned that Takamichi did see Kisaki, or kind of Kisaki more saw him as he was helping Hinata with the bullies. It's like, oh, okay. And then, of course, we learn in season 3 more of his kind of connection with Hinata. So we see that he is trying to help Mikey, but Mikey has a gun, but the safety's on, but Naoto doesn't know that. Shoots him and kills him. He's like, my life was suffering. And pretty much passing away in Takamichi's arms as like, holy fucking shit. So then he gets back to the past. He says that he was going to take over the Tokyo Manji gang to stop Mikey from becoming more violent. But then we see Tenjiku, a gang from Yokohama, initiating an attack on the Tokyo Manji gang. Of course, beginning with Takamichi and his division. Of course, encountering Kisaki. Let's see. And that's where the second season ends. It's like, what the fuck's going on here? And this gets kind of nutty and gets a little bit convoluted. I still like what's kind of going on because it's mainly... The thing I like the most is like Takamichi being presented with these kind of problems, even though it's like, okay, we've got that Mikey has Emma as is like a sister, and then we've got the Izuna dude, who's kind of a brother, Shinichiro, and they've got like different fathers, mothers, and stuff like that. It's like, alright, but then we learned that he's like just not even really connected that much to him. He was like, I think from the father, he was the product of him getting together with a woman from the Philippines, which that's pretty much how we get the kind of Philippines connection with Shinichiro. It's like, okay, and he kind of takes Izuna and like goes with him. But the thing is, Izuna became extremely jealous of Mikey and Emma. And it was interesting to get Mikey's whole kind of thing. Like, he at first was making fun of Emma, but she, of course, had problems with that. And then he's like, all right, just call me Mikey then. And just being a good brother to her. This becomes important because of how important Emma becomes with this. It's like, all right, how does Mikey lose his support system? What kind of goes on here? As we see them kind of going through this whole kind of Kanto incident as Kisaki and Hanma are pretty much working with the Tenjiku gang, and that Izuna pretty much wants to take over and make Mikey his kind of crazy dude, taking everything away from him and just like fucking him completely over. It's like, god damn. Mucho is the dude who pretty much is trying to find traders and shit and can lay hands on the Tokyo Manji gang. It's kind of like an outsider kind of watcher kind of role. Pretty much taking in Koko, Inui, and Takamichi to try and find trader kind of stuff. But of course, Mucho is the trader and pretty much forces Koko to go with them to make money for the Tenjiku gang. It's like, all right. And we see that Takamichi's friends are at least holding their own and are inspired to kind of like stand up to shit. They get their asses kind of beat because of the whole Yokohama gang kind of busting in out of nowhere and like cracking everybody's asses. Pretty much taking out a good amount of the captains. We get Smiley. No. Yeah, Smiley getting cracked out a little bit. Mitsuha getting taken out a little bit. Of course, Mucho defects. Takamichi's pretty much one of the only ones kind of hamped up. So they're pretty much trying to lead this. We got this S62 generation, which was like violent delinquents consisting of Izuna and several top executives from Tenjiku. And that they're like, fuck this shit, we're going to do our kind of shit. Yeah. So 13 episodes apiece to like 26, which is pretty good. Let's see. So they're kind of planning an attack on February 22nd on the Black Dragon's 11th anniversary, and they're kind of preparing to fight. So they're pretty much... Mikey entrusts Takamichi to watch over Emma as he confronts Izuna at Shinichiro's grave, and the thing is, Takamichi then starts figuring out that, like, wait a minute, I haven't seen Emma. What the fuck happened to her? As we see that Kisaki pops up with Hanma and bashes her head in. And she doesn't die on the spot, but she does die, and this like pretty much breaks Mikey and Draken and everybody involved. Hinata even is there at the hospital and is just like down as shit. And then we see Takamichi trying to kind of like cheer her up, even though he's like in a really shit mood. He's like, listen, I was a janitor at this one job in the future, and I tried to cheer this kid up, and I know it wasn't much, but I just wanted to try and do something. And it's like, okay, what are we doing? We cannot let this stand. We have to answer this. So he's pretty much trying to save Mikey as much as possible with this. Funny thing is, Mikey is like in a kind of fused state, and Hinata's the only one able to get him out of it by pretty much dropping Mikey's secret that him and Draken both learn of what's kind of going on. Let's see. So the rest of the members are pretty much trying to drop out. It's like 350 people. However, Takamichi's determination convinces them to continue to fight. And it's really kind of cool seeing him kind of stand up there. I mean, his friends stand up with him. So does Hakai and Smiley's twin brother Frowny, because we get introduced with him, and it's kind of funny because Smiley's kind of a high voice, this one's kind of gravelly. It's the same voice actor, it's just like, alright, fine, cool, whatever. He's less injured than Smiley, and we just see them kind of go ham, but Takamichi is able to convince them to do this, as well as Shifuyu. I'm like, we gotta do this, and the rest of them kind of pop up as well and backing him up. He's not trying to be an asshole and taking this over, but these motherfuckers are cracking in here. They are fighting and taking him down, and of course, they don't have Mikey, they don't have Draken, they don't have their top contenders. It's like, we'll just get our asses beat. It's like, that's not the point. Sometimes the point of a fight isn't winning the fight or losing the fight. It's maybe even just being there to be like, you fucks, fuck off. And you're like, how do you win a fight by losing it? It's a little bit different because these motherfuckers, he's going pretty much to stop Kiseki, because Kiseki has been probably, he got out of pretty much murdering Amma by using like a body double kind of thing, and Takamichi's not going to stand for that. And we go in and we see Peiya pretty much like is the one that's like hitting dudes with other dudes. Let me see. Peiyon, yeah. Blue starts crying and just loses shit and like starts cracking motherfuckers like ain't nobody's business. Takamichi also has this not Coco Kakucho. He evidently has a history with him who they had kind of fought, but he's like, well, not fought, but like he looked up to Takamichi, but then looked up to Izuna because he got him out of his funk because his parents died and he was thinking of actually killing himself. He's like, be my servant. And we learn that in flashbacks as everything starts going to shit. But we see that it's a kind of back and forth. We get some of our heavy hitters on the Takuyomanji gang pretty much taking out some top executives before we get to the point where Izuna has just kind of gloated and everything. We see that Kiseki pulls out a gun and things start going to shit like anybody's business. Mikey does pop up after being awakened by Hinata, having a kind of good fight between Izuna before we learn that, oh yeah, they're brothers. Oh, they're kind of not brothers. And then Kiseki pretty much is just like, fuck this noise. Shoots Takamichi in the foot. We see this kind of go down in a way that's let's see. Of course, we see Mikey is able to put Izuna on the back foot. Even though he's evenly matched, Izuna begins to panic when Mikey states that he would have accepted him as family. He refuses to admit defeat and grabs Kiseki's gun to threaten to shoot Mikey. Kakucho attempts to calm him down. In the midst of the struggle, Kiseki takes the gun and shoots him. So he gets shot, and he's injured, but he makes it out. But then we see that he almost tries to shoot him again. And Izuna takes the 3 bullets, and it's like, holy shit. He's, of course, this is where we learn that he's not related. and struggled to find family, even bringing up. I mean, it's kind of the bit where it's like exposition needs to happen, even though he probably would have died a lot faster. His mother leaving him, and then we find out that it's not his mother, and just everything has gone to shit, and he has a complete and utter fucked up kind of thing. So everyone's like, the S62 generation pretty much was like, we'll take the fall for this kind of shit. Everybody else kind of get out of here. As Kisaki and Hanma pretty much trying to escape. Takamichi pursuing with Draken and ending up in the park where Hinata died. And Kisaki kind of believes the whole kind of time travel thing without too much of a problem, as they then continue to fight Takamichi, running after him pretty much. And also getting flashes of the future where Kisaki proposes to Hinata and keeps getting shot down, and that's like his whole thing of trying to impress her, trying to be like this delinquent because of her infatuation with Takamichi. And of course, Mikey and Hinata are intervening. He keeps running. He asked if he's a time traveler as well before we can get Kisaki to answer. Truck-kun comes in and cracks his ass, and he's like, I don't want to die, and then dies. They're like, that's odd. And everyone's like, shit, fuck, how did that fucking happen? Let's see. He does visit Kakucho, who has survived, and he's still uneasy with Kisaki's death. And that's where the third season ends. It's like, all right. Now, we'll see how the next one does. I think it might finish it out, but I'm not quite sure. I know there's a little bit more arc-wise to kind of go through, but I'm like, shit. So he doesn't get back. We don't get a check-in with the future with the radical kind of changes that have popped up here, because in most of them, Kisaki has survived to the point of adulthood. Here, Truck-kun got his ass, and it's not even kind of connected to any kind of problem or, like, person that we know of. He was just standing in the middle of, like, the road. Do that, just like, boop, 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 oh, fuck, and cracks his ass. And it's nasty. His, like, arm's all fucked up, his leg is fucked up. He's like, I'm dead. And then pretty much dies. Hanma gets his ass hoo-hopped by Draken. What are you doing? And there's a lot of different kind of stuff that we have to see that kind of happens. What reverberates, because in the future that he learned that, like, the whole kind of killing and everything like that, he had to pretty much, in this one, stay here, because him and Naoto were pretty much gunned down by Izuna in that future, and he couldn't go back to check. It's like, oh shit, like in the previous one, he was arrested. In that one, he was pretty much dying, because Izuna, Kakucho, popped up. They tried to learn some stuff from Taiju, and of course learned that, like, everything kind of went nutty, and Izuna was able to pretty much, like, help corrupt Mikey even further, and that's why he pretty much killed everybody. And we see those kind of flashes of Mikey killing all those people. It's like, shit. So we know that the basic kind of goal is still Takamichi trying to take over the Tokyo Manji gang and trying to help out with Mikey. Pretty much doing the kind of Shinichiro stuff that we'd seen in the past. So we'll see how that kind of echoes and lines up with later. So I like these. I'm glad I was able to see them both at once. It wasn't as egregious an ending for the season as, like, the first one, where it's like, you ended on that cliffhanger, you motherfuckers? That was my main problem. I like learning about Takamichi, seeing him pretty much stick in the kind of way of, like, characters like Steve Rogers, Captain America, where I can do this all day, except the thing is he's got no super soldier stuff, and he doesn't really have any fighting skills, but he just takes... He has a lot of resilience and durability, even though he gets his ass completely and utterly throttle-womped throughout most of his fights. But he still stands up for his people and for who he believes in, even though he doesn't usually take the motherfucker out. He still kind of wins just by, like, his talk no jutsu kind of shit and everything that kind of goes on. So I'm good with that. It's an interesting and compelling character to see how he kind of is able to inspire others around him to act better. And that's kind of the key power that he's got. We see that with his friends. We see that with Mikey and Draken and the rest of the people as well. And that's pretty much what I think Hinata sees in him. Now, we'll see how this kind of goes further. Like, after we potentially see what ramifications happen in the future, what kind of spirals further depending on the changes, what kind of courses of action that Takamichi has to take going forward in the story. But I like this. I would set this up as one of the good time travel stories, kind of on the same kind of line as Steins Gate. And I'm excited to see where this goes. So those are my opinions on the seasons. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked them, if you didn't like them, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also, like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.